We had the opportunity to visit a lesser-known city in Russia, which even many Russians are not aware of. In this video, we would like to share with you the lives of regular people in this province, showcasing the infrastructure, daily life, and how locals spend their free time. Especially during the Ukraine-Russia war, we want to see how much the war changed the life of people in Russia in small towns. And welcome to the city of Salavat. To begin, let's start with a glimpse into the city's history. Russia is an enormous country and home to various ethnic groups such as Whites, Asians, and Semites, each with its own unique culture and traditions. Unlike Western countries, these diverse groups are not migrants. Their ancestors have historically inhabited this territory and become part of Russia during its historical conquests. As a result, Russia is divided into national republics. While these republics have the formal rights to establish their own internal laws and orders, they are ultimately subordinate to Moscow. The central government closely monitors and controls the regions, fearing any signs of regional separatism. Salavat is located in the Republic of Bashkiria, which has a long history connected to the Bashkir and Tatar people. Known for the nomadic history, the Tatars and the Bashkirs are closely related cultural groups that both practice Islam. Their languages are very similar, so Tatar and Bashkir people can communicate easily. Many Tatars ran away to Bashkiria after Tsar Ivan the Terrible conquered Kazan, the capital of the Tatar kingdom. However, as the Russians arrived, a wave of forced Muslim baptism started, and those who refused to be Christians were executed or tortured. This sparked many rebellions, one of which was led by a Muslim warrior named Salavat, and this city is named after him. The Bashkirs lost the war, but the destruction caused Moscow to modify its policy and allow the Bashkirs to practice Islam. When the communists came to power, they looked for the support for the smaller nations. They did this by allowing them to revive forgotten local heroes' names for cities and streets. However, this was along with severe regulations aimed at suppressing indigenous languages and traditions. Next, we will uncover more about Salavat, a city with a rich history and diverse cultures. Salavat was built in 1948 to provide housing for workers at the local oil refinery, which is now over 3 times the size of the city. The earliest residences here were constructed by captive Germans. The population in 2022 was around 150,000 people, with 55% Russians, 20% Tatars, 18% Bashkirs, and other ethnicities. The majority of the population lives in small apartments. Private homes are rare. The downtown area is full of Soviet-era buildings, most of which have a monotonous, boring appearance. In the city's newer areas are cleaner and have been modified to meet European standards. As we walk down each street, we see houses perfectly lined with nice courtyard in the center, which is a common characteristic in Russian cities. These courtyards, which are surrounded by buildings, are commonly used for parking, communal seats, and playgrounds. Despite the pleasant neighborhood view, the roads are in poor condition, with several potholes and cracks. However, the streets are alive with sports games and energetic children. We decided to rent bicycles for the whole day so that we could ride around the city and explore interesting spots, which cost approximately around $14 for 2 bikes. The first location we visited was the city's largest mosque, Masjid an-Nabi, which was built in 2004. As we enter the mosque, we can see a small courtyard in the center of the building with 2 entrances. One goes to the wedding chamber and the other to classroom where Muslims can attend Islamic and Arabic classes. When we arrived, we were welcomed by the Imam who came from Syria. He explained to us about the mosque rooms and the growing number of Islamic enthusiasts in the city. Mosques in Russia have many functions, not only for prayer. Muslims in Russia also go to mosque to perform Islamic weddings and even give names to their newborn babies. On regular days, the mosque is quiet with few people present. However, many men gather here on Fridays for Islamic prayer. After the long Soviet era, many Tatars and Bashkirs began to return to their ancestors' religion, and many Russians have also lately converted to Islam. Therefore, the number of believers is slowly but surely rising.
حي على الصلاة.
Men pray on the first level, while ladies pray on the second. On the second floor, there are also women's prayer outfits like this. The clothing for women's prayer is very different in my country. In Indonesia, we wear clothes that cover the neck and legs with long fabric like this. On the first floor, prayer clothing for men is also provided, and some Muslim men in Russia wear this kind of clothing for prayer. After our visit to the mosque, we decided to stop by the largest grocery store in the city to get some water and give you a glimpse of the prices, especially considering the sanction imposed after the Ukraine war. Take a look around. You will see a lot of fermented milk drinks, and the local likes them. They are parts of the local diet. The shelves are loaded with everything you could need, and the prices are acceptable. For example, a package of herring costs about $2.50, and a creamy cake costs around $6, including VAT. However, it is critical to address the fact that the average monthly wage in this region is around $300, causing worries about rising prices and decreasing product quality. So these prices are actually quite expensive for locals to afford. In short, the war resulted in higher prices across Russia, creating significant obstacles, particularly for people living in small towns with low incomes. Even though Russia produced a lot of wheat, I was shocked to discover that the bread variety isn't really good. Most of it is hard and dry, but surprisingly, my husband seems to like it. These bread-based snack chips are another fascinating part of bread in Russia, and we can find easily in stores. One striking observation is the open sale of alcohol in Russian stores. Alcohol is displayed in Russian supermarkets along queues with no barriers, making it accessible to everyone, even small children. Next, we went to a bookshop, and I have to say that Russia has a lot of book covers with beautiful illustrations and design. Recently, young people have been quite interested in Japanese anime, and there are plenty of manga available here. It's really impressive that even in this little town, anime events are held a couple of times per year. In my country, people got really into anime in the 90s, but now everyone's just crazy about Korean stuff. However, in Russia, the situation is different. In the city, you will spot these veggie stands along the roadsides run by locals. Most of them are grandmas, and they are selling stuff straight from their gardens, like vegetable, herbs, and wild berries. And of course, everything they sell is totally organic. Here, we can watch local people chatting and hanging out on the street. Because Russia has a lot of different groups of ethnicities, some locals didn't realize I was a visitor from another country. A few elderly women who were selling things on the street looked surprised and asked why I was recording them with a camera. Officially in Russia, you are not supposed to sell anything without doing all the paperwork and paying taxes. But these lovely grandmothers are being ignored by the government? Well, it is because many of them get low pensions. So we decided to grab some fresh parsley for our salad, and guess what? It just cost us 50 cents. We also got wild raspberries, which cost around $1. As we headed towards Central Park, we came across a performance by a nomadic circus from Uzbekistan. Although they didn't charge admission, they did suggest that viewers consider making contributions. The fact that so many people attend the show with their kids portrays how exciting a small performance can be for those living in a place like this where there aren't many things to do. I was amazed when I got to the city park since it is quite large and attractive. In Indonesia, where I'm from, it's difficult to find parks that are suitable for long walks and sports. There are plenty trees and benches, and there is a pedestrian and cycling route nearby. People gather here to work out, chill after work, and read books. Teenagers are frequently seen wandering and chatting with friends in this park. We can also see an artificial pond where dogs and swans swim. In the winter, they migrate south to Central or Southeast Asia and returning to the same location each summer. There are monuments to the soldiers who lost their lives in World War II as well, not far from the pond. There is still a favorite local destination that we want to visit by bike. It's a newly developed public sports and recreation area for locals. It is located outside of the city center, near the forest and river, where people can exercise, play with their children, relax with drinks and food at cafes, and even sunbathe. We arrived at the location in the morning, so there weren't many people, but as the evening approaches, more people will come, especially on holidays or if there are entertainment events at this place. There is a bridge over the river named Agidel, which means white in the Bashkir language. This river served as a lifeline for locals in the old era, facilitating fishing, trading, and transit, even accommodating Viking vessels. It is mentioned in the journals of the prominent Arab traveler Ibn Fadlan. If you cross the bridge, you will be on a small trail that leads through hills and trees. People often come here for cycling in the summer and skiing in the winter, as well as to pick herbs and mushrooms. A wide variety of plants grow here, good for eating and medical purposes. However, some of the plants are rather sharp and might scratch your legs, so it is better to wear long, thick pants when walking here. Sadly, a river with increasing water blocked our road, preventing us from continuing to visit the little village and the spring. On another day, I got to attend Salavat city's birthday celebration, which took place beside the river from the afternoon until the evening. As the evening goes on, there are more and more people arriving at the event on foot. Many people here enjoy walking, unlike in my country, where more people ride motorcycles. Some people also arrive by bicycle or electric scooter to this place. I have heard that Russian ladies have a reputation of their fashion and interest in dressing up. At the outdoor event like this, I saw that many Russian ladies, also elderly ones, were dressed attractively. I enjoyed observing their fashion style, but my husband was not interested in that because according to him, Russian women usually take a long time to dress up. We could also see that there were many food stalls, some of which offered halal food. The majority of what they sold was traditional Central Asian cuisine, such as rice pilaf, bread, and shish kebab. Based on what I learned from a few people in the area, The town didn't give extra money to workers at the oil factory. The funds for the event come from the bonuses usually given to factory employers. There are lots of things happening at this event, like music performances from Russian musicians, traditional dances, giving awards to local athletes, and ending with fireworks. Sadly, we decided to leave early before the main show, since it was getting colder and we were tired. Luckily, we could still watch the fireworks from our balcony at home. My visit to Salavat was short, but I was deeply moved by the experience. Even though it is an industrial town, Salavat lacks significant infrastructure and suffers from pollution. Living here, we often catch a smell of the strong gas coming from the nearby oil factories, which can even seep into our homes. Despite these issues, Salavat is a humble place filled with sociable locals, contrary to the stereotypes of most people who believe that Russians are cold and unfriendly. During the war, life in the city mostly stayed the same. People continued their daily routines, but the economy suffered, and some prisons began to release prisoners as they were sent away to serve in the war. This city also has one of the highest soldier death rates in Russia. The Russian government sent more soldiers from smaller, less wealthy towns like Salavat than from big, rich cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Before